Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Keyblade Master and welcome to my channel. Now, like I said in my Assassin's Creed Unity review, whenever I'm reviewing a large game with a lot of narrative, whether it be a sandbox game or an RPG, from now on I'm going to split them into two videos. One's going to be my actual review of the game with very little bit on the story, and then I'm going to do a whole story analysis video separate. Those of you who want to listen to my story analysis here can, but if you're more interested in my review, I'll add a card up top and you can access it now if you're just interested in how the game plays. Anyways, today we're going to be taking a look at Kingdom Hearts 2 story, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'll tell you what I think of it. As I kind of stated in my review, if you've seen it, it's not my favorite Kingdom Hearts story. There are problems with it, as I stated, mainly due to the fact that the Disney worlds are the Disney worlds, and then you have this other plot that doesn't really concern them. I've already stated that in my review. I won't go too much in it here. There's other things for me to poke fun of. Plenty of other things. So let's get started. Well, let's start off with this story analysis at the beginning of the game. Now, I being a big fan of the original Kingdom Hearts couldn't wait for the sequel. The original one ended on a cliffhanger, as we all know. I wanted to see what would happen to Sora and Kairi, and Chain of Memories left me with even more questions. Who are the guys with the black coat? How evil is this Axel guy? And would Riku, Sora, and Mickey ever find each other? Well, instead of getting right into that, Kingdom Hearts 2 showed me that my 4-year wait would have to wait another 3 hours as I watched a slice of life anime starring Roxas here. And I do mean watch, not play. Roxas's part takes 3.5 hours if you watch all the cutscenes. Skipping those cutscenes, it's possible to probably speedrun him in under half an hour. That's how little you're playing. That's not to say that it's a bad slice of life anime. Roxas is an enjoyable character, and this little anime that starts off the game does have little hints at the Matrix here and there that are really clever. And we do get some information on the Diz character we met in Chain of Memories. I'll go on about him in a moment. I'll try not to spoil his big reveal because none of what you see here is really a big reveal until the very end of the game where Sora kind of bumps into him for a few minutes. But anyways, Roxas' story is pretty much he's a young boy in Twilight Town finishing his last summer vacation and doing what kids do, hanging out with friends, picking fights with the schoolyard bully, fixing computers, and picking up the hot babes.
You were never supposed to exist, Roxas.
Now, I'm no Mac Daddy, but when a girl tells you that, Roxas, you've struck out. Anyways, I hope people took my advice when it came to 358 over 2 days in the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 collection. I don't know why they put that in that collection because it really does spoil a lot of the plot twists in Kingdom Hearts 2, including what's going on with Roxas at the beginning of the game as he starts to find out that he's not who he thinks he is, he's not living the life he's supposed to be leading, and there's a giant key connected to it all. But anyways, after he finally leaves the scene, after some disputes with the nobody Axel, who, by the way, does steal the show in his scenes, voiced by Clinton Flynn. He's a really good character to really get into, and I enjoy the character.
True.
Something that I didn't think I would after playing through the Game Boy Advance version of Chain of Memories a few times. I always thought I would hate this character when Kingdom Hearts 2 came along, that he'd be a despicable villain. Here they kind of recast him as someone you don't exactly always want to trust, but he's not an evil character either.
Yeah.
So again, some interesting moments with Axel to liven up Roxas' story as it comes to a close. And we finally take control of Sora. We get him out of Twilight Town after a few more cutscenes. And we visit Yin-Sid, who tell us exactly what's been going on. It seems that there are still Heartless about, and they will always be a natural occurrence in these worlds. However, a greater threat comes with nobodies, people who have lost their hearts to the Heartless but have still kept their humanity. Only they have been extremely twisted, and now any emotion they feel are more based on past memories than current emotions now. And here comes a big problem with the villains in this game, and that is, do they show emotion? How can you have different personalities when they have no emotion? And the game tries to sidestep it in so many ways, but the truth is you can't. Being non-emotional, being apathetic is an emotion. It's kind of like saying you have no religious beliefs. Well, having no religious belief is, well, a religious belief. Same here. Having no emotions is kind of having emotions. So they don't really explain it, and there's only one or two characters that come off being completely cold. Saix and Xemnas. The other ones kind of have twisted emotions or emotions they can't quite emote.
Very soon.
And eventually in Dream Drop Distance they completely retcon this to, yes, nobodies can feel emotions, and they do have some heart left when they're at least looking human. While pondering the nobody question is definitely an interesting part of the game, unfortunately they decided to throw in one villain too much and bring her back. Yes, Maleficent is back, but unfortunately, unlike last game where she was this Final Fantasy IV Golbez meets Disney meets person who's going to bring a whole cabal of Disney villains against our hero, here she's saddled with Pete. And yes, being saddled with him not only takes her threat level down a whole bunch, but they tried to make her humorous. In fact, you only really battle her as a villain in one world, the Nightmare Before Christmas world, and she says lines like this.
Meantime, I'll turn Santa Claus into Santa Heartless.
Yeah, that's dumb enough to deserve a facepalm right there. Ugh, that was an awful line. It could be worse, Shiny. How's that? Well, Disney could make a live-action Maleficent movie starring somebody like Angelina Jolie. Except rather than being a movie about her being an anti-hero or misunderstood villain, they made her a hero by having the good fairies be complete dumbasses. And then the king being evil. And then her being too good. That movie would completely suck. What's with the face? Don't tell me. Yeah, they made that movie. I bet you it really sucks. Not as much as you would think it would, but yeah, it's a crappy movie. Let's hope we don't see it in Kingdom Hearts 3. Alright, after about 4 hours in, we're finally able to leave Twilight Town and start Disney hopping worlds. First up is Hollow Bastion, where we run into all the Final Fantasy characters from last game, now with different voices. Yeah, that's something I should also go over in this game. All the voices have been changed for the Final Fantasy characters. Even a few of the Kingdom Hearts characters have had their voices changed.
So
notably,
what
Ansem
happened?
from the last game is now voiced by Richard Epcar, who is a good voice, don't get me wrong. However, Billy Zane voiced Ansem in the last game as a guy you don't want to meet out in the middle of a battlefield. Richard Epcar always voices his villains more like the people you don't want to run into a back alley. So there's definitely a difference in the voice.
But first, perhaps you could tell me your true name.
It's Ansem.
Not helping matters with that little voice change to Richard Epcar is that Ansem's a different character in this one. If you didn't take my advice and watched the 358 over 2 days little clip seen in the Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 remix, then you know why he's different. If not, it's explained well enough at the end of the game, but this Ansem's kind of a good guy. Anyways, after you're done with Hollow Bastion, you start skipping around Disney worlds. And each time you're in a Disney World, you will get a partner this time. They've kind of made that a fix to where each Disney World you will pick up a partner. Not always have them around, but you will have a partner inside those Disney Worlds. For example, Beast Castle, you get the Beast, of course. Land of Dragons, you get Ping, which is a crappy character until he becomes Mulan, which is a good character. And then for Hercules Coliseum, you get Auron, which is one of my favorite characters, at least as far as the story goes in this game. He's got my second and third favorite line in the game.
And all for one little job. Fight Hercules in the Colosseum to the death.
This is my story, and you're not part of it.
I am the Lord of the Dead!
No wonder no one wants to die.
those lines are just so Orin. And for those of you who are not familiar with Final Fantasy X, I see this asked by people who aren't fans of the Final Fantasy series, but are fans of the Kingdom Hearts series. Is Orin a bad guy because of the way Hades kind of describes him? The answer is no. In Final Fantasy X, he is a guardian, basically a bodyguard for hire, who decided to still walk the earth after he got killed, just so he could take care of his best friend's crybaby kid. He's got a bit of a dark sense of humor, but he's actually a pretty good guy. Except for in Kingdom Hearts 2 here, you only have him for 5 minutes, because after that he ditches the group. And you don't really ever get to have him in your party again, except for a brief boss fight with Hades. So he's kind of a bit of a disappointment in that one, especially since when this game originally came out on the PS2, he was kind of majorly hyped as one of the partners you would get. Anyways, after Olympus Coliseum, you also have Pirates of the Caribbean, which is done in this realistic-looking graphical look, and it's pretty good. And they hired some pretty good voice replacements for Johnny Depp and the crew. These aren't the actors from the movies, but they do a pretty good job.
And Captain?
Are you sure you can sail her? All on your own?
You've a point there.
Yeah, they toned down Jack Sparrow's little drunken bit quite a bit too in this game, but for the most part, that's well acted and well represents the Pirates of the Caribbean storyline. And yes, Sora can kill the undead pirates because he's got the Keyblade. It wouldn't be fun if you couldn't defeat them like they did in the movie. Like I said, difference between a movie and a video game, folks. You have to be able to defeat the bad guys. Anyways, the next world is, of course, Agrabah, then Halloween Town again. Both of those are repeats from last games, but they're different level designs, so not too much in common there. In the final mix, Sora wears a Christmas Town outfit when he's in Christmas Town, and the music even changes a little bit. There are only 2 more stages as far as the map goes. After Halloween Town, first there is the Pride Lands, which is the Lion King stage. I really don't like this stage. You have to play as this lion cub, which has some really nerfed abilities. A lot of the abilities you've picked up so far don't really apply to Sora when he's in this form, and it just makes this level a bit of a chore. Also, the Lion King is usually known for having this really bright water palette, but since they take on the movie towards the end, it's all dark and gritty, and it just really doesn't feel like the Lion King as much as it should. Then you also have the Little Mermaid, which makes the Lion King stage look like a masterpiece, because you have to play this god-awful music rhythm games with some really horrible songs. There's only 2 songs in here that don't make me want to vomit, and that is Part of Your World, which is kept pretty much the way it was in the movie, and then a song sung by Ursula, which isn't half bad. It's not half good, but it's not half bad. All the other ones are vomit-inducing. Play this stage on mute. And then there's 2 other stages that I need to go through real fast, because they're part of other worlds that you'll bump into. First is Tron, which you will get into when you bump into Hollow Bastion for a second time. And I really like what they did with the stage. They make the stage look exactly like the original movie. Sora's kind of got this gray face. Everything's kind of brightly lit and colored. And they even took a few things from Kingdom Hearts 2 into Tron Legacy, like the way the motorcycles look. Sora's motorcycle in this game looks exactly like the motorcycles ridden in Tron Legacy. Nothing like it did in the original Tron, so what do you know? Kingdom Hearts 2 actually made an impact somewhere. And then finally, all the movies in this game are relatively new, with the exception of Tron, of course. But there is one stage that goes way, way back, and that's the Timeless River stage, which goes back to the Mickey Mouse cartoons of the 1930s. I even like what they did with the audio here. It's all scratchy and sounds like it's coming from an old record. Take a listen.
Hey, look! There's the cornerstone of light!
What's going on? Everything's black and white.
Little touches like that are what makes Kingdom Hearts really special to the fans. And like I said, I enjoyed a lot of the little touches that this game offers. After you beat Hollow Bastion a second time, though, the game does get a little lazy, unfortunately, and you have to go beat each world again a second time with a new quest and slightly different story. This time they only take like 20 minutes to beat, not counting the boss fight, which is huge and takes a while. And only one of these, Agrabah, in which you have to fight Jafar in his genie form again, really seems worth it. Remember, kids, wishing to be a genie gives you phenomenal cosmic power, itty-bitty living space, and a great set of abs. But other than Jafar, most of these second bosses can be a little bit tedious. But that's not to say there aren't a few fun ones. I did enjoy Mulan's dragon as well. After you defeat these worlds a second time, and beat Tron a second time, the way opens to the final stages, which I won't spoil anything that goes on there, because there's some big plot spoilers, and I don't want to ruin it to anyone in this plot analysis. That said, there's a few other things I do want to nitpick real fast. First, the thing that everybody likes to nitpick, and of course that's this line over and over again, every single freaking stage.
Sora! Donald! Goofy! Sora! Donald and Goofy!
Sora, Donald, Goofy.
Sora, Donald, Goofy.
Okay, that's my favorite line in the game, and it's unintentionally funny. Like I said in my actual review, they really needed to go back and redub that line in particular. However, the line Sora, Donald, and Goofy is said at least once every time you visit a world by a character, and it gets kind of old by the end of the game. Another thing that happens throughout the game is every time you complete a stage, there's this little animation with Sora and the Keyblade kind of unlocking the next road to the next world. It's actually a really cool animation, and what's used to unlock the worlds is kind of cool most of the time. Things like the battle sword of the leader of the Huns, or Jewel from the Cave of Wonders makes sense. However, what helps them escape the Dark Realm in one of the scenes, a realm that supposedly, once you get stuck in, it's really hard to get out of. In fact, there's a character in Birth by Sleep that most of the trouble that's happened in the Kingdom Hearts franchise is because this particular character managed to get herself stuck in this realm. Sora, Donald, and Goofy are able to escape from it using an ice cream cone. Think about that for a moment, folks. If this certain mage had managed to stick a Nestle Crunch bar in her pocket, none of the problems in the Kingdom Hearts universe would have happened. I also want to talk about Diz for a few minutes as well. Like I said at the starting of this video, I kind of want to talk about him. A lot of people kind of make the mistake of thinking he's a good guy character, and he really isn't. Who and what he is, and it's expanded on 358 over 2 days, is a person who is hell-bent on revenge. Granted, he has a good reason to be grinding that axe he has, but he's getting to the point where he's about to cross the line of being something that he never wants to be, seeking it. He's about to become as evil as the people in the organization he's out to destroy. And towards the end of the game, he even admits that to Mickey. So, no, he's not really a good guy. He's not evil, but he's not really a good guy. And Ansem there knows it. That's why he lets Axel and Nominate go in a secret scene in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. One last nitpick before I go and end my rant, and this one has to do with the load times that are in the HD collection. I mentioned them in my actual review, and it's important to realize, yes, they screw up the gameplay, but they also screw up a few story elements. And one of my favorite scenes, Donald and the gang visit Merlin to tell him about troubles happening in Disney Castle, and Merlin just teleports him while Donald's on his little rant, and Donald doesn't even realize it. In the original version, the load time between the two scenes is so seamless that all you kind of hear is a brief pause in Donald's little rant as he gets teleported off, and it's a great use of a fade in and fade out. However, the longer load times means there's a long silent pause, and it completely screws up the joke in that scene, and it's kind of unfortunate. Anyways, first let's start off with the original SD scene, and then I'll show you the HD collection scene.
hardness in every part of the castle. If you want to send over the whole castle and all that, she filled the hollow cornerstone with tiny bells and she did a full of that.
Yeah, the load times in this game really does drag it down to being less than stellar. If the load times are gone, this collection would be probably one of the best HD collections, but the load times really do screw up not only the gameplay, but some of the story elements, unfortunately. Well, I'm kind of done with this rant about the game's storyline. I hope you enjoyed listening to it, and I didn't completely waste the last 20 minutes of your lives. If you're interested in seeing my review of the game itself, feel free to click on the little thumbnail. You can also click on subscribe if you want to see more of my content. I'd love to have you as part of my community. I do reviews, I do editorials. I also take a look back each week about what's on the Virtual Console and classic games on the PSN. I also take a look at classic digital game sales each week as well. So I'd love to have you be a part of that. This is Tommy the Keyblade Master signing out.